Students, today we will study the chapter named The Kabuliwala, written by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore was a Bengali writer who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, wrote novels, essays, short stories, travelogues, dramas, and numerous songs. However, he is perhaps best known for his lyrical poetry. Tagore also founded the Visva-Bharati University. So students, let's start the chapter. Para 1. Minnie, my 5-year-old daughter, cannot stop talking even for a minute. She learned to speak when she was a year old and has not wasted a single minute in silence ever since. Her mother sometimes scolds her, and that keeps her quiet for a while. But a silent Minnie seems so very unnatural that I cannot bear it long. So in this chapter, the Minnie is a little girl, 5-year-old little girl. Okay, so this story revolves around little girl, that is Minnie. So Minnie is a 5-year-old daughter of the narrator. She is very talkative, and for even a minute she cannot stop talking. I mean, she's so talkative that for a minute also she cannot stop. She started speaking when she was 1 year old. So when she was a year old or 1 year old, she started talking from that time, from that moment. She didn't keep herself in silence, or for a minute also she was not quiet, or she was not in a silence. As we used to say that person used to be in a silent mode. So she, from that time, she never used to be quiet. She keeps on talking and talking. Her mother even scolds her for her talkative nature, and this makes her quiet for some time, or you can say silent for some time. But the quiet Minnie or a silent Minnie doesn't look very nice, or it looks like it's very unnatural that she's been quiet for so long, and that the silence of the Minnie cannot be bear by narrator. The narrator cannot bear the silent Minnie for so long. Second para. One morning I was working on the 17th chapter of my novel. Minnie sat at my feet playing. My study faced the main road. Suddenly Minnie rushed to the window shouting, "Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala." So one fine morning, the narrator was working on writing, or working, you can say, on the 17th chapter of his novel. And Minnie was playing near his feet. The narrator's study room was facing towards the main road. Then suddenly Minnie rushed towards the window and started shouting, "Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala." Third para. A tall Afghan was passing by. He wore a dirty, loose robe. Students, robe is a long gown, you can say, loose long cloth or dress, you can say. So he wore a dirty loose robe and turban. Turban is a headgear, you can say, students, like you have seen the Sikh wearing turbans. In Hindi, you say pagadi. He carried a box of grapes in his hand and a large bag slung across his shoulder. He heard her call and turned towards our house, smiling. Instantly, Minnie's curiosity gave way to alarm, and she vanished indoors. She was convinced that inside the kabuliwala's bag were in Kabuliwala's bag were imprisoned little children like herself. So, students, a tall Afghan, as she shouted, Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala, a tall Afghan was means a person living in Afghanistan or belonging to Afghanistan. That is called as Afghan. So he was passing by wearing a dirty, loose, long dress and a turban. He was carrying a box of grapes, and a large bag was hanging on his shoulder. As he heard the Minnie's call, he turned towards the house. When the Minnie called him, he turned towards the house. Now, Minnie was very curious now, but her curiosity turned into nervousness. And quickly she went inside her house, as she has been told that Kabuliwala captures the little children like her and keeps in her bag. Fourth para. The Kabuliwala came up to the house, greeted me, and stood smiling. I could not send him away without buying anything, so I chose a few things while he talked to me. His name was Abdur Rahman, though everyone called him Rahmat. Before leaving, he asked, Babu, where did your little girl go? Now, the Kabuliwala came into the house. With smile, he stood inside the house. The speaker bought few things. The speaker bought few things, and the Kabuliwala's name was Abdur Rahman, but everyone used to call him Rahmat. And before going, Kabuliwala, or you can say Rahmat, asked, Babu, where did your daughter go? Now, fifth para, I thought Minnie should get over her fear. I sent for her. She stood close to me, glancing suspiciously at the Kabuliwala and his enormous is very big bag. The man held out some dry fruits to her, but Minnie refused to take them. This was their first meeting. So, students, the speaker or the narrator, you can say, thought that Minnie should get over or come out of her fear that these Kabuliwalas used to capture or kidnap, or that used to capture the little girl or little children and keep in their bag. So he called the Minnie. Okay, he called the Minnie. She stood near her father, means the narrator, and was looking very doubtfully at the Kabuliwala. She was very nervous, she was so dubious, and that's why she was looking doubtfully towards the Kabuliwala and his big bag. The man Kabuliwala, his name was Rahmat, took out some dry fruits and gave her. But Minnie did not take those things. And this was their first meeting. There means the Minnie's and the Kabuliwala's first meeting. Sixth para. A few days later, I found my little daughter sitting near the door, talking non-stop in her usual manner, while the Kabuliwala sat at her feet listening, a broad smile on his face. He occasionally made a reply in his uneven Bengali. Never before had Minnie come across such a patient listener other than her father. Now, after few days, narrator saw his daughter sitting at the door talking non-stop continuously with a Kabuliwala, while the Kabuliwala sat near her feet, means Minnie's feet, and was listening her talk with a smile very patiently. And even sometime he replies to her in his incorrect Bengali, and Minnie has never ever seen such a patient listener other than her father. Seventh para. I learned that this was not their second meeting. The Kabuliwala had been to see Minnie almost every day, and with the help of bribes like nuts and dry fruits, he managed to conquer her little heart to no small extent. Now, the narrator said that it was not their second meeting. Before that, they met many times. So it is written there, and this was not their second meeting, means it was not the second meeting. Before that also they have met. The Kabuliwala meet Minnie every day and gave nuts, dry fruits to her, just like a bribe, so that he may win her heart to the great extent, so that he can win the little girl's heart to the great extent. Now, eighth para. These two friends had some stock conversation and jokes. For instance, as soon as she saw Rahmat, my daughter laughed and asked, Kabuliwala, what's inside your bag? Now, these two friends had always a stock of conversation. Means they used to have a stock of conversation and jokes. And for example, narrator told that whenever his daughter saw Rahmat, she laughed at him by asking, what's inside your bag? As I told you before, that she has been told that before knowing this man, she has been told that this Kabuliwala used to keep the little children in the bag. So for the fun, for the joke, she used to always say, Kabuliwala, what's there inside your bag? Out of joke, she used to ask Kabuliwala that what is inside your bag, just in a fun. Now, ninth para. Rahmat, in his turn, would grin, means smile, and reply an elephant. Now, Rahmat, with a smile, he used to answer her, an elephant in my bag. Now, 10th para. That there was an elephant inside his bag was the subtle meaning of the joke. I can't say that it was particularly subtle, yet this joke amused both of them considerably, and I too enjoyed the innocent laughter of a grown up and a child on an autumn morning. Now, he used to say there was an elephant. He used to say that there was an elephant, or you can say there is an elephant inside. He used to reply, means Rahmat used to reply that there is an elephant inside my bag. And this was a very subtle, means very delicate meaning of it has a very delicate meaning of a joke. The narrator says that he won't regard it as a delicate, but still this joke means he used to say that they think it was a subtle meaning of, there was a subtle means it was a very normal, very normal kind of a joke, but the narrator says that he won't regard it as a delicate, he won't regard it as a very subtle, but still this joke entertain or please both the mini and kabuliwala. And narrator used to enjoy their laughter, okay, enjoy their, and as well as especially he enjoyed the laughter of the kabuliwala and her little girl as well. Next para. One day I was working in my room when I heard a commotion. A disturbance, commotion means a disturbance. Outside, I looked out and saw two policemen dragging out Rahmat. They had tied his hands. There were blood stains on Rahmat's clothes, and one of the policemen was holding a blood-stained knife. I went outside and stopped them. Now, one day, the narrator was working in his room, and suddenly he heard a disturbance outside the house. He saw that there was two policemen, and these two policemen was taking away their Rahmat and had tied the Rahmat's hand. There was also the blood stain. There was the blood stain of Rahmat's, means the Rahmat's clothes were filled with the blood stains. Means okay, so Rahmat's clothes was filled with the blood stains, and one policeman was holding the knife, and that too was covered with a blood stain. Narrator quickly went outside the house and stopped them. 12th para. What's the matter? I asked. The narrator asked, what's the matter? To the policeman. 13th para. It turned out that one of our neighbor owed Rahmat some money. He had falsely denied the debt. During the subsequent fight, Rahmat had stabbed him with a knife. Now, the matter was that one of the narrator's neighbor had to pay back Rahmat some money. That man denied the charges on him. Okay, so it means that he did not pay That neighbor did not pay the debt, and during during that fight, the Rahmat had killed him, means that neighbor, with a knife. Now, 14th para. Rahmat was cursing the liar when the Mini appeared, calling Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala. Now, the Rahmat was very angry and was using impolite words for the liar, for that neighbor. Here neighbor is I am indicating to liar is here neighbor. So so Rahmat was he was very angry, he was using impolite words for that liar when Mini appeared and called him Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala. 15th para. Immediately Rahmat face lit up. His bag was not with him today, so he could not have their usual joke about it. Instead, Minnie asked, "Are you going to your father-in-law's house?" Now, student, and as the little girl, means Minnie, shouted, "Kabuliwala, hey Kabuliwala," listening her words, Rahmat's face suddenly became happy, or suddenly looked happy. This time, his bag was not with him. Even they did not have, or they could not able to have joke. They could not able to have the usual joke about it, means about the bag. On the bag, they used to joke on the bag, like, "What's there in your bag?" He used to say, "An elephant." So such kind of joke. Instead, Minnie asked, "Are you going to your father-in-law's house?" Now, 16th para. This too had been one of their standard lines. Father-in-law's house was an address that held little meaning for Minnie and a double meaning for Rahmat. It was a slang. Means slang, dear students, it is a informal words. Okay, slang is an informal word for the prison. Usually, Rahmat would reply, "I shall hit the father-in-law's," upon which Minnie would giggle delightedly. Okay, students. Now, this was the father-in-law's house. This was also their usual line. Means it was also a usual line for them. Father-in-law's house was address which held which was holding a small meaning for Minnie. For Minnie, it was a very normal, very small, means a very trivial, very small meaning for a Minnie. But for Rahmat, it had a double meaning. Okay, it was an informal. So father-in-law's house, for a Minnie, it was very small thing, but for a Rahmat, it was a double meaning. Rahmat was taking father-in-law's house as a prison. Okay, so it was a double meaning for Rahmat. It was an informal word for prison. Okay, so Minnie was saying this, which has a very small sense, but for the Rahmat, it was a double meaning for a prison. Means for the prison, it has been referred to. Okay, "I shall hit the father-in-law's," and after hearing, means he Rahmat used to reply, "I shall hit father-in-law," means he will hit the father-in-law. And after listening this, means he will hit the father-in-law, and after this Minnie would giggle very nicely, and very openly she used to laugh. Okay, now 17th para. Today Rahmat grinned and said yes. Now this time Rahmat smiled broadly and said yes to the question asked by Minnie, that are you going to your father-in-law's house? And this time when she asked, the Rahmat smiled very broadly to her question. Okay. Now 18th para. When he saw that Minnie was not amused, he added, I would have hit father-in-law, but how can I? My hands are tied. Now, in a 16 para, he had here to make the Minnie smile. He said, "I will hit," means I will hit. Hit, you are understanding, students, means like a punch. Father-in-law, and Minnie giggled, but so this in this para, when he saw that Minnie didn't smile when he said those words. Okay, so Rahmat saw the Minnie did not find the joke very funny, or means Minnie did not find the joke very funny, or did not smile at his words. Then Rahmat added in his word that I would hit, means punch father-in-law, but I cannot punch because my hands are tied. Okay, my hands are tied, or cuffed means tied. Now 19th para. Rahmat was sentenced to the several years in prison for causing a fatal injury. Now Rahmat was sent to jail for several years for killing the neighbors. Now 20th para. I almost forgot about him as time passed. Living in our home, busy with our daily work, we never wondered how an independent man who had traveled in the lap of mountains might be spending his years inside the prison. Now, and as the time passes, everyone was engaged themselves, everyone has engaged themselves in their routine work. Okay, so everyone was engaged in their routine work, everyone was busy in their routine work. Minnie and his father also forgot, even Minnie and his father also forgot about the Rahmat. They never thought that an independent man who used to travel, means who loved traveling in the mountains, how he must be spending his life inside the jail, means such person who love traveling, who love freedom, how he must be feeling inside the prison or jail. Thank you, students.